I created a little story to answer what people have always asked me over the years, since I've been teaching for 34 years, which is quite a long time.
At New Acropolis?
Yes, at New Acropolis.
Uh-huh.
They ask what's the practical usefulness of philosophy. So I came up with a little story that goes like this. Imagine you are walking by somewhere and there is a puddle of water.
Uh-huh.
According to the reaction to this simple, prosaic fact, you could divide humanity into three large groups. Firstly, the alienated people who pass by don't even see the puddle of water, or if they do, they trample everything and say, "That's not my problem, that's someone else's problem." Or if it's a public space, it's the government's problem, I have nothing to do with it. And this, incredibly and unfortunately, is the vast majority. Then comes a second group, which is the group of well-intentioned people who pass by, see all that mess and say, "No, someone has to do something about this." So they go there, grab a squeegee, a cloth, some detergent, and clean the floor. But what happens is that this puddle of water comes from a leak in the ceiling, and soon enough, the puddle is there again. Then the herd of the unaware comes along, stamp, 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 trampling everything, making a mess of it all. Everything gets dirty again. He goes back to cleaning. Dirty, clean, dirty, clean. At some point, he'll have to stop doing this, and within minutes, the problem will be there again. In other words, his action was well-intentioned, but it was palliative.
Uh-huh.
And there's a third group, with this philosophical inclination that can't be manufactured, only awakens from within. They would go through the same process, and at first, would do the same things as those who are well-intentioned. Let's not philosophize in the mud, let's clean this up. But then, or even at the same time, they would ask themselves, where does this come from?
The origin.
Then they would raise their head and look up and say, there's a leak. So let's go, let's change the tile, let's caulk the lining, let's fix everything that needs to be done. Fix the leak, there is no more puddle of water. As there's no puddle of water, there's no problem.
Uh-huh.
I really like this metaphor of looking up.
Yeah.
There is a saying that goes, only the naive, only the fool believes that the causes of physical misery are found on the physical plane. The causes of physical misery have always been, and will always be, rooted in the psychological, moral, and spiritual poverty of human beings. And if you do not act on that level, your actions may be palliative, but not concrete. They do not generate real results. So, the philosopher always seeks the origin of this attitude, the root of this problem. And sometimes, it is not even an individual problem of that person. It is a cultural element from a particular historical moment, which they are assimilating and which is causing that pain, that imbalance. And they take it as a personal issue, when sometimes it is not. In fact, this is a dividing line, because it is very close, isn't it? What psychology does, and what philosophy does, in this sense. But philosophy deals with a question that is inherent to the human condition, whereas psychology works with a particular case, right?
Psychology, I say that it is more about the issue. Psychology, psychiatry, they deal with the mind, and people often confuse the mind with the spirit. They have nothing to do with each other. The mind is an activity of thought generated by a machine called the brain, right? It's the same as saying that digestion generated by the stomach and intestines have a life of its own. It doesn't, right? So the mind gives me thoughts, but thoughts are the result of a machine programmed to survive and seek immediate pleasure. If we do not become aware, we limit ourselves merely to feeling fear, to escape danger, to survive, right? Instinctively, it is the circuit of fear, of stress. Or else, we seek immediate pleasures, which for primitive humans was a way to survive and to reproduce. And if we do not become aware that we are much more than a bunch of thoughts strategically produced to keep the species alive, we do not take a step further. We just survive, right?
For philosophy, it is very important that we analyze the human being as if he were an idea, and not a real fact. This human condition generates certain situations of maladjustment, certain limitations that are natural and to be expected of a human being. And they are the same for man today and for man from, 5,000 years ago. They are exactly the same. Today, human beings think that what an Egyptian lived through, what a Greek experienced, does not serve as guidance for them. The fundamental questions of life have not changed at all. Fear, pain, fear of loss, insecurity, the need for self-affirmation, the lack of a sense of life that encompasses a unity greater than merely the ego. In other words, a whole set of issues that are truly responsible for pain, unhappiness, or, on the other hand, fulfillment and wholeness. This is universal, and philosophy delves deeply into this question of the universal, but inevitably, there is an intertwining here, isn't there? With the field in which you work.